It's HPR1, All Things Considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. Today we have a special guest joining us on the line whose music you may know: Breezin', Masquerade, On Broadway, Give Me the Night, Turn Your Love Around. It's George Benson back in the islands, and we're lucky enough to have him on with us today. Big George.
All right, man.
How are you?
Everything is good, man. Doing real good.
I appreciate your time very much, and thank you for grabbing the call. You're coming back to town, and what I understand is the ukulele was your very first instrument?
That's right. My stepfather found it in a garbage can. I was 7 years old, and I wanted to play guitar, but my hands were too small. So he found this ukulele in a garbage can, and somebody had broken it up, smashed it. He glued it back together, and he put some strings on it, and he taught me the first 2 or 3 chords. And I found out I could do a lot with those 2 or 3 chords. There were a lot of songs I could play.
Right.
So I took it to the street corners, and somebody saw me out there with my uke, and they went in their pocket and paid me money to play a song. I could not believe it. Yes, the ukulele was my first instrument.
And your first paying gig.
That's true. That's what turned me into a professional at 7 years old. If the word professional means you're being paid for what you do, started when I was 7 years old with the ukulele in my hand.
You still play one? Do you own one?
I own several. When I was in the islands, I did a small collection of. They had some great players in the islands. As a matter of fact, Hawaii, let's face it, they're the best ukulele players on the planet. I heard some great music because I used to spend my afternoons on Maui listening at records by all of the top Hawaiian stars. My very favorite was Gabby Pakinui. He was so real and so Hawaiian, you know. And then I heard all of the rest of them, you know, all the great ones in the islands, Danny Kaleikini, Lowell Garner, Brothers Casimiro, of course, Uncle Willie K. They call him Uncle now. When I met him, he was a teenager. Man, I have great experience in the islands, man. That stuff affected me in an incredible way. It taught me, you know, like country music has its own beauty within it. It is a whole art form within itself and a whole culture. That's the way Hawaii is. So when I was in my home on Maui and looking out at Molokai on my left and, Molokai on my right and Lanai on my left and all of the hotels along the beach, you know, the Hyatt, the Marriott, the Westin, which used to be the Maui Surf. Man, what great memories I have of all of that. So when I come there to play music, it's like coming home for me.
What, did you sell your house?
I did. My kids got grown, and they wanted to go where they had more opportunity, when they had more highways. The Noa Pi'ilani Highway, which is outside of my house, is the only one highway going to either Kakalui or to the airport or Wailea.
Were you here full-time when you were here?
Oh, yeah. The first 4 years were full-time. After that, I shared it with my house I had in Tenafly, New Jersey. So I was back on the East Coast, back and forth. But we loved that house. We never imagined that one day we would not have it. And it feels strange not to have it, to tell you the truth.
That makes more sense, I guess, why you're so familiar with the music, because you were here all the time. So what would you do? What years approximately in your life was this that you were living here full-time?
I moved there in 79. One of my sons was born. He is Christopher Kiki Kopa Benson, Julian Benson. He was born there at Maui Medical. Is that what they call it? Maui Medical Hospital?
Maui Memorial?
Maui Memorial. That's right. He was born there. So one of my boys is Hawaiian. So with that, I can do anything I want in the islands because I got some blood in the islands. You know what I'm saying? Of course, Henry Kalei Aloha Allen.
Say his full name again.
Henry Kalei Aloha Allen.
Wow.
We all call him Henry Allen, but he likes to use that Hawaiian name, and I agree with him. He's now part of the Hawaiian music culture thing. They put him in charge of the Hawaiian music.
And he lives here?
Yeah, he lives on Maui.
And you mentioned a few names locally, and before I let you go, it would be wrong if I didn't just get a story out of you on some of these monsters, and they literally are monsters that populate your legacy. I know it was a long time ago, but if you could tell me a little bit about up close and personal with the great Miles Davis.
Well, when you look at Miles from afar, he seemed very different and very strange to those who don't know him. And he was every bit of that. He was very different and very strange. But, you know, there was something about him that I liked. I appreciated his honesty. He was a little crude at times, but he was always honest. He would tell you his thoughts, his honest thoughts. He didn't hold anything back. But every time he spoke, I learned something. I recorded with him way back in 1967. And while I was in the studio, I got a chance to know several things. But I was one of his biggest fans, and he was one of my biggest fans. I didn't know he liked me so much until way later. Then we started doing gigs together in the late 80s and early 90s. He was much more than people imagined. They thought of him as something strange or baroque, if I may use that term. But he was truly a genius, not only musically. His philosophical views were bordered on genius, too.
You spent personal time with him, too, I'm assuming, with all that extra tour time that came later in your career.
He's the one who hit on me and said, George, we'd be on an airplane. George, come on over here and sit by me. And he would have his shoes off. I said, Miles, until you cover up them toes, I ain't coming over. Because he had some monstrous-looking toes. We put his shoe on. We laughed. Everybody laughed. And he would always ask me, what do you think about when you're playing? I always thought he was kidding me, you know. And he said, no, man, I'm not kidding you. I want to know what goes through your mind when you start doing your improvisations. And I had to explain it to him the best I could. I couldn't put what I felt into words, you know. I just did what I believed in. But he let me know that he really appreciated what I was doing.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about all these years later, now that he has passed on. And
it's like he's still here, man.
I have no doubt.
You know.
It's George Benson, our guest today. He's tonight at the Blaisdell.
Man, it was a ball. Thank you.
God bless you, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Aloha. This is George Benson, and you're listening to All Things Considered with my friend Dave Lawrence.